peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there's no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and to still be calm in your heart. This human experience is so complex and filled with so many different things. This busy mind, this fast-paced culture, a time and an era filled with so much information and stimulus. So we have events and experiences that shape us and direct our course. Things that we didn't anticipate or expect, the good as well as the bad. So how is it that we find peace and stillness within the context of the consistently changing nature of the world? This question may speak personally to some of you, and I know that it spoke personally to me when I was a business student in college and I did a study abroad in Italy. When I got there, it was like I didn't even realize being relaxed was a possibility. And yet, here's this whole country of people, walking slowly places or having a 3-hour meal and actually really connecting to their lives. And so after I sort of had that experience, I got a master's degree in business and went off into my career. And by the age of 28, the stress which had been building in my life had left me with a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, and I was starting to develop physical symptoms that were directly related to that stress in my life. The turning point for me came when a friend gave me a book on mindfulness. The testimonials alone in the book were so powerful that I decided to move to Massachusetts and attend a mindfulness-based stress reduction program. That program transformed me, and it continues to transform me in ways I could have never imagined. During the last class, I remember sharing with the group that I had started to experience moments of peace, which for me at the time was a real turning point. I had started to develop a sense of inner calm as the challenges that my life held came towards me. And for the first time since I had been in Italy, I started to feel, again, really connected and engaged to the people and the things in my life. So, what is mindfulness? Perhaps each of you can remember a moment in your life where you were overwhelmed with joy and happiness. Maybe a great vacation where you were really relaxed and connected. And I think that we have all experienced moments of heartbreak and loss. In each of these profound moments, these moments of connection, what we're actually doing is relating directly to life and to the full capacity of who we are in those moments. This is mindfulness. And yet, I think it begs the question. So what happens to all of the rest of the moments in our life in between the really significant ones? And so this concept of mindfulness is starting to tune into that. One of the most special things that I see as people begin cultivating the practice of mindfulness is that they begin waking up to the preciousness of their lives. And they realize these moments, they're not special occasions. They're happening all the time, and we tend to miss them. And so what is it that's actually pulling us away from these direct experiences or pulling us away from being mindful? And while there's a wide variety of topics I could talk about, I've sort of narrowed the scope to 2 today. And the first one is that of craving. I think that's so relevant to our time, and it's certainly relevant to our culture. And yet it has some very important undercurrents to be aware of. Craving is so much about becoming more. More happy, more successful, more stable, in a better job, a better relationship. And yet, if we look closely at that process, it's very much a movement away from how things are, and it's a movement toward how we would like things to be. And in that movement away from how things are, what we've done is we've begun to actually separate ourselves from our real day-to-day experiences, because we've started to create conditions for happiness, for success, or for any number of other things. And each time that we don't get what we were craving, we suffer. And on the other side of craving to become more, we have the craving to not become a certain way or not be a certain way. These things we have and don't like or don't want. This anxiety, this depression, this challenge in our life. And yet again, if we look closely at that, that's still a movement away from how things are. And at a deeper level, this is a movement away from how we are. You know, we can get really focused on the idea of perfection. And yet what it tends to leave us with is a sense of not feeling sufficient or not feeling like we're enough. I had a teacher on a retreat once make this statement. What if you could let go of the world of conditions as the gatekeeper to happiness? So, am I saying don't set goals or don't work towards things? Of course not. In our lives, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our businesses, we want them to grow and change and evolve. And if they're dysfunctional, we need them to change and evolve. But can we do that from a place of awareness and intention rather than from a place of reaction? So the other sort of distraction or idea that can pull us away from our direct experiences is that of attachment. The wanting things to be a certain way or to stay a certain way. And I think we can all really relate to this, right? It's like we're eating this wonderful meal, and as you're eating it, you don't want to take that last bite because it's so good, right? Or you're watching this amazing sunset, and it's like you just want to capture that moment and sort of hold it forever, or really engaging with another person. We want to keep these things close to us. And then we have the more aversive things in our life that we don't like so much, and we sort of want to keep them somewhere at arm's length, right? And yet there's really stress on both ends of this because we can't control the world, right? So we can't keep everything out here forever. So there's stress in the trying to push things away. And on the other side of that, we know that sunset we're watching will fade away. We can't keep things forever. So there's some stress in the holding. You know, the world is really the good and the bad. We need both to be able to learn and grow and change as people. And I think a really good example of attachment in our own lives could be how things have changed over the past 5 or 6 years. We've faced more and more uncertainty. We've faced issues such as bankruptcy, foreclosure, loss of jobs. And yet I think it's very important to remember that while the rate of this is certainly higher than it was in the past, the possibility of it happening always existed. The world is always uncertain. And so the idea with mindfulness is to try to cultivate a certain amount of inner stability so that we have the resources to meet the changing nature of the world. And yet, I do want to put it out there, this isn't sort of a blanket statement saying, you know, we accept everything that happens in our lives. There are deeply difficult things that happen in our lives and in the world that we may not accept. But the idea with mindfulness is, can we begin to cultivate a safe place within where we might have the ability to heal and to start to move forward from those things? So as I've been talking about mindfulness, you might think, oh, well, you know, this sounds great. I'd like to have more of it in my life. How do I do that? And so I'd like to do just a short experiment in mindfulness. So I'd ask you to find just a comfortable sitting position, and that might mean sort of fixing an upright posture, taking a few minutes just to kind of settle into that posture. And you also want to be relaxed but awake. And then I invite you, close your eyes. And let's just begin to bring our attention and our awareness to the breath. The breath, for many of us, is something that's very automatic. We don't have to think about it too often. And so this is really an opportunity to notice the breath. noticing each inhalation, noticing each exhalation, feeling the breath, breathing, knowing that you're breathing. It's that simple. Noticing if the breath is deep and full, coming from the belly. You might notice if it's tighter, intense, coming from the rib cage. And again, nothing to change. Just noticing how things are. Moment to moment awareness. And I would invite you to open your eyes again. And I'd like to paraphrase one of my favorite quotes. Can you sit long enough for the mud to settle so you can see clearly? So this was just a 2-minute sort of experience with mindfulness. And yet for many people it may have made an impact. So imagine taking 2 minutes like that before making a critical business decision, or after having a difficult communication, or before having a communication you know is going to be difficult, right? And then imagine taking that 2 minutes and expanding it into 15 or 20 or 30 minutes a day. The impact increases. The awareness, the mindfulness, the ability to respond, they all start to increase. And yet, one of the most challenging things I see, I've been teaching mindfulness now for about 5 years. In class after class, the most difficult thing for people is creating the time to do this. Many of us live very busy lives. We live in a fast-paced world. But I think it's important to realize how much of ourselves we're giving. How much of ourselves we're giving to our work, to the people in our lives, to the activities that we do. And that if we want to continue to give at that level, we actually really need to start to restore our own resources. And so taking this time is actually such an act of compassion towards ourselves. It's precious, it's useful, and it's actually better for everyone else around us if we take the time to do something like this. So how is it that you begin to cultivate a practice of mindfulness in your life? Well, mindfulness is really as simple as stopping, non-doing, having an experience as ordinary as the breath and feeling it. This isn't something where we need like a special meditation room with the no sound earphones and the right cushion and the right chime, right? This is something actually accessible to us all the time. It's really just a matter of tuning in. And I also really encourage people as they develop this practice to bring a sort of investigative quality to it. You know, usually we're really like living our process. Mindfulness gives us the space to start to watch our process. So when we're sitting with the breath like we did here today, we're noticing, where do the thoughts go? Where is our mind going? This isn't about stopping the thoughts, it's about seeing where they go. And noticing when my mind goes there, how does my body feel? Because the mind and the body are interconnected, right? And in doing this, we're actually gaining really important information, things we may not have been aware of before. We can start to see, what am I craving? Where am I attaching to things? Where do I get stuck? And rather than sort of living in this automatic pilot, again, we can really choose with intention how we want to live. And perhaps even more importantly than this sort of investigative quality, can we do this practice with kindness towards ourselves and without judgment? Mindfulness is so much about acknowledging as much as we can how things are, and then noticing if that changes over time, the more awareness we gain. We cannot control the world. But can we begin to cultivate the skillfulness to meet ourselves in the challenging times with equanimity, clarity, and an ability to respond to life as it unfolds? Can we begin to become aware of the amazing things that might exist in our life in this moment? To close, I remember being on a long, silent retreat, and at some point around day 4, I experienced a deep sense of peace. And in that moment, there was no past, no future, no fear. I was just there. And it occurred to me that the greatest gift you can give the world is to be at peace with yourself. It has an impact on everyone that you meet and everything that you do. So I leave you with that thought and a deep sense of hope. We can each find the courage to look inward, and that we can start to create the time to take care of ourselves and to be connected to our lives, because all we truly have are moments to live in. Thank you.